So recall that if you buy a US federal government bond, right, essentially you are lending money to the US federal government. See, a bond market is a financial market which channels money from the supply side, bond buyers, bond investors, like people like you, right? So you buy bond, the market facilitates channeling money from bond investors to borrowers. Who borrows money? The US federal government, right? So it doesn't have to be the US federal government, state government, Texas state government, Laredo city government, Houston city government, Austin city government, right? They can also borrow money by issuing bonds. So in addition to governments, corporations, they can also borrow money by issuing bonds or by selling bonds. So for example, if Disney wants to build another theme park somewhere in Florida, right? So the construction of a theme park is extremely costly. It easily costs billions of US dollars. A corporation, even a large corporation like Disney, may not have, so for example, 50 billion US dollars cash available right now to finance or to pay for the construction costs. So corporations like Disney can also borrow money by issuing bonds. So for example, Disney will borrow money from the general public, right, by issuing so-called corporate bond instead of government bond. Disney can issue bond with each piece of paper face value 1,000 US dollars, right? For how long? Again, keep in mind, for bond is associated with a term structure, also called maturity. Someone wants to borrow money from you, right? It's better has a term, expiration date, kind of like the milk, right? If you buy milk, there's an expiration date. You shouldn't buy milk without expiration date, right? Kind of like you won't lend money to someone forever. Essentially, if you lend your money to someone forever, that means essentially you are being robbed. You will never get to see your money back. That means you are giving that person your money. So Disney can borrow money by issuing bonds with, so for example, 1,000 US dollars face value for each piece of paper, for each bond certificate, with maturity 5 years. That means Disney wants to borrow money from you for how long? For 5 years. And to give you some incentive, you should buy Disney bonds instead of put your money in a savings account. Disney promised you a 2% annual interest rate. In the bond market, it's called a coupon rate, right? So which is much higher than the saving account, the interest rate you have seen before from, for example, Wells Fargo, which is 0.05% per year. Okay. So corporations, right? If they want to borrow money from the general public to finance their business expansion, so in general, this is called debt financing. They are borrowing money. This is called debt, right? They use debt to finance their project. So bond issuers, they are the borrowers. They want to borrow money from the general public, from the market, right? People who buy bonds or people who lend money to bond issuer, they are called what? Creditor or lender. Bond issuer essentially is a borrower or debtor. Okay, so now let me use the US federal government bond as an example. So let's see some specific examples regarding the bond market. So let me go to a website called Bloomberg. So Bloomberg is named after the guy, Michael Bloomberg, right, who was running for president earlier this year, but later he dropped out, right? So he is one of the wealthiest person in the world. So he founds this company called Bloomberg. Essentially, it's a financial service company. It's named after him, Michael Bloomberg. It's called Bloomberg, right? So you can find basically all financial information from this website. So this is the homepage. You can simply Google Bloomberg. And this homepage, let me click Rich and Bonds. And let me click US. Here, look at this group. So the US federal government borrows money from the general public, right? For all kinds of reasons, to finance another war, to pay for federal government employees' salary, to finance the purchase of a new military equipment, right? Or to finance a new stimulus package. So the US federal government wants to borrow money from the general public. So specifically, it is the Treasury Department executing the federal government order. So that's why the US federal government bond, also called the Treasury bond, Treasury, you see this word. Remember, for bond, right? Government wants to borrow money from you for how long? So here, even though these are all bonds issued by the US federal government, specifically the Treasury Department, but for some bonds, the government only wants to borrow money from you for how long? For 3 months, for 6 months, for 1 year, aka 12 months, for 2 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, for 30 years, right? So the term structure or the maturity runs from 3 months to 30 years. For 30 years, that means the US federal government wants to borrow money for a long period of time, for 30 years. For 3 months, that means the government wants to borrow money from you or from the general public for how long? Very quick, only 3 months. So that's the name. Name varies according to maturity, for how long. And the second column we care about is called the coupon, right? So here is 2%. If US federal government, the Treasury Department, wants to borrow money from you for how long? For 30 years. To give you some incentive for you to be willing to buy US Treasury bonds, Treasury bills, right? So the Treasury promise you a 2%. Here, this coupon essentially is a coupon rate. Coupon rate is just another phrase for interest rate in the bond market. You just don't call that the interest rate. So that means you're going to receive 2% coupon rate or interest rate every year, right? So notice that for 2-year bond, if the government only wants to borrow money from you for how long? For 2 years, right? The coupon rate or interest rate is very low, 0.38%. For 5-year bond, 0.5% per year. 10-year bond, 1.5% per year. 30-year bond, 2%. Have you noticed a pattern here? The longer the US government wants to borrow money from you, right? The higher the interest rate, aka coupon rate, the government promises to pay you. Why? Because the longer term bond, like this one, right, involves higher risk. Why? Because in general, it is fairly easy to predict what's going to happen tomorrow. So for example, will North Korea attack the United States tomorrow morning? I think the chance is very low, right? Almost zero. But if I change my question to, will North Korea attack the United States in 30 years? That means in the year 2050, it is hard to tell, right? So the longer the term goes, it involves a higher degree of uncertainty because we really cannot predict what else is going to happen in 30 years, right? It's kind of like in the year 2019, right? Just 6 months ago, right? Nobody would expect a pandemic going on at the beginning of the year 2020, right? It's very hard to predict what's going to happen in 6 months, right? Not mention predicting what's going to happen in 30 years. So that's why longer term bond involves a higher degree of risk. So there's a very important principle in finance. So very simple, higher risk, higher payoff. Here, for US federal government bonds, right, 30-year bond involves a higher degree of risk than 2-year bond. So that is why higher risk, this bond pays you higher interest rate or coupon rate, 2%. 2-year bond only pays you 0.38% per year. See, higher risk, higher payoff. Okay, so we care about this column called the maturity for a bond. We have a coupon rate or interest rate. For some short-term US federal government bond, right, they don't even pay you interest rate or coupon rate, so 0.00, because the risk is so low, they don't even bother paying you any interest rate. But for longer-term bond, because it involves a higher degree of risk. The government has to pay you a higher pay of 2% interest rate or coupon rate per year. Also look at this price, the next column, right? The price of the US federal government bond is quoted in some sense exchange way. So here for this 30-year, let me do this 2-year bond for an example, right? 100.33. So how do you interpret this number on Bloomberg? Essentially, this is what? This is a percentage. You can think of the price is quoted on a percentage. So for example, for this 2-year US federal government bond, if you know its face value for this 2-year bond, if you know its face value is 1,000 US dollars, right? And this bond has maturity 2 years and coupon rate 0.38% per year, right? Okay, how much money do you have to pay right now to buy this bond? Here, you can take this number as a percentage. If you know its face value is $1,000, right? So its actual price, called the spot price right now. Because remember, bond price fluctuates depending on supply and demand. So the current price, also called the spot price, is equal to its face value, 1,000 US dollars, right? Multiplies here, this number essentially is a percentage. That is 100.33%. And we have 1,000 US dollars, right? Multiplies, what is 100.33%? That is 1.0033. And what's the answer here? So the actual price for this bond, right? 2-year US federal government bond with a face value 1,000 US dollars and a coupon rate 0.38%. The current price is $1,003 plus 80 cents. So that means if you want to buy this bond, right? So you have to pay $1,003.30 right now to buy this one piece of paper. And you call yourself a bond investor. By holding this bond, suppose now today is April 21st, 2020, right? So you paid how much money? $1,003.80 to buy one piece of paper called a bond in the bond market, 2-year US federal government bond with coupon rate 0.38%, right? So what's your payoff by holding this bond? Assume everything is fine. Assume the US government is going to fulfill all those promises written on this piece of paper. What are the promises? The US government is going to pay you back 1,000 US dollars, right? The face value. Once this bond expires, that means at the end of the 2nd year. And the government promises you to pay you some coupon payment, also called the interest payment, right? How much? 0.38% per year. Okay, assume today you paid $1,003.80 buying one piece of paper, one bond, one certificate. Okay, so what is your payoff? Since if you also keep your mind, if you buy a bond, right, you don't have to hold it until the end of the maturity. You can buy it right now and you can sell it immediately. Just kind of like if you buy a car, right, you don't have to hold your car forever. You can buy a new car today, you can sell it tomorrow, right? Or you can buy a house today, you can sell it tomorrow. So you don't have to hold a bond forever. But assume you hold it until its maturity. So what is your payoff? So today is April 21st, 2020, right? So I use real information from Bloomberg. You paid $1,003.80 buying one bond, 2-year US federal government bond with face value $1,000, coupon rate 0.38%. Okay, so assume everything is fine and you do want to hold the bond until its maturity. 1 year from today, on April 21st, the year 2021. So you are going to receive your first installment of coupon payment. How much money? $1,000, right? So how much money are you going to receive? Here, you only know the coupon rate or interest rate, but how much money you're going to receive as coupon depends on face value. So you need to multiply coupon rate with face value. So $1,000 multiplied 0.38%. And here we have $1,000, right? What is 0.38%? That is 0.0038. So that means your first installment of coupon payment is $3.80. So if you check your bond investment account balance, right, on April 21st, 2021, you assume everything's fine. The U.S. federal government is going to pay you the first installment of your coupon payment, $3.80. Okay, and let's roll over another year. Since you are holding a 2-year bond, on April 21st, the year 2022, you are going to receive your second installment, also your final installment of coupon payment. How much money? The idea is exactly the same, so just let me copy and paste. You're going to receive another $3.80 coupon payment, right? But also, since this bond is going to expire or mature at the end of the second year. Why? Because it's a 2-year bond, right? And also on April 21st, the year 2022, the government has to pay you back how much money? Face value. So that means once this bond expires and assume everything is fine, you check your bond investment account balance, right? Not only will you see your second installment of coupon payment of $3.80, and the government has to pay you back face value. So you're also going to receive face value payment, $1,000, right? So in total, by holding this bond for 2 years, how much money you have received in total? So let's ignore the time value of money. So in total, you have received how much money? $1,000 face value paid at the end of the second year, right? And you have received twice the coupon payment, $3.80 twice during this 2-year period of time. So in total, by holding this bond, you are going to receive how much money? $1,007.60. That is your payoff by holding this bond. But remember, today, how much money did you pay for this bond? Here, $1,003.30, right? So what's your profit? What is your investment profit by holding this bond for 2 years? At the end of the second year, once this bond matures, right, you have received $1,007.60 in total during this 2-year period of time, minus the price you paid 2 years ago for this one piece of paper called a bond, right? $1,003.30. And what is your profit by holding this bond? The answer is $4.30. That is your financial gain for holding this 2-year U.S. federal government bond with face value $1,000 and the coupon rate 0.38%.